Here in Romania, captive brown bears are being saved from terrible conditions in private zoos and tourist attractions. They're on their way to this sanctuary in Transylvania, which is now home to 29 rescued bears. Freed from their cramped cages and concrete pens, this 70 hectares of natural oak forest is where they'll spend the rest of their lives. The forests and mountains of Romania are home to over 5,000 wild brown bears, the largest population in Europe. This remote landscape provides them with the ideal habitat, but when people come into contact with bears, there can be trouble. Adult bears are often shot and their cubs taken as pets or exhibits. The cubs grow quickly, but the cages they're kept in don't. A big adult bear can be held captive in a cramped, run-down cage for anything up to 30 years. This shocked Romanian animal campaigner Christina Lapis. For years, she's been fighting to rescue the many bears held in captivity throughout Romania.
I waited so many years to see them free, and I cried near the cages so many times, and I asked them to keep alive until the day that they will be again free.
Christina, together with the World Society for the Protection of Animals, has created this bear sanctuary near the city of Brașov in Transylvania. Here, bears can roam free, but government questions about security in a harsh early winter meant that some of the bears had to stay in quarantine cages rather than hibernate in the natural forest enclosures. Now spring is here, and it's good news. The Romanian government is happy with the new security measures, and they've finally given permission to start moving bears out of quarantine. The weather is improving too, and for the rescued bears already free in the sanctuary, it's time to emerge from hibernation. Bears like Motsi here are hungry. Tender new leaves are a favorite springtime feast. The team are hard at work putting the finishing touches to a second large 7-hectare forest enclosure. As soon as this work is complete, they can release bears from the cages into their leafy new home. Paul Hammond has been planning the work.
We're very nearly done on this enclosure. I need to check the electric fence, check the foundations of the fence one last time, and then we're pretty much done. A little bit of work to do on the pools, and then it's time for the bears to come in.
Over in the quarantine area, the bears are awake and restless. With the restrictions lifted, they will not have to stay here much longer.
The vet's going to check them all, put a microchip in, we'll tranquilise those ones we need to, and we'll put them straight out. But thank goodness, the permissions are here, and we just get on with it.
But there is a surprise new resident in quarantine who won't be released into the forest enclosures with the others. This is Rudy, a 4-month-old cub who was brought into the sanctuary during the winter after being found alone and hungry. He is so young, he can still safely be let out for exercise, even though he is becoming quite a handful. Rudy's story is typical. In the past, he would probably have ended up as a miserable caged bear.
It is such a cute little animal when they're that size. And it's their problem because people take them from the wild like that. And they think they're cute little pets, and they take them into their houses and look after them. When they get to about 6 months of age, they're in a cage and they're there for the next 20 years, which is the problem we've seen in Romania. There are so many bears in cages, which started off just like this little thing here. It really isn't a good idea to bring bears like this into areas where they've got too many people around. They've got to get used to being bears again. That takes a little while, doesn't it? Right? Yeah. Sit quiet.
The plan for Rudy is to be released back into the wild once he's old enough. He's being kept near to the other quarantine bears so he gets used to their company as well as humans.
So this is a temporary home. It's fine for him. He's got a den. He's got his comfort from the weather. He's getting very good food, but we've got to keep him under control here. So he's given exercise every day, and he knows there are other bears nearby. Oh, okay, okay. I'll have to leave him go and let him shut the door. Yeah. Yeah. See, now he's. Yeah, okay. You're angry at me now. I know. I know you're angry. I know you're angry. See, he gets very frustrated because he should be with his mother and also probably with some other young cubs as well to keep it company. So he just needs the exercise. He's getting a bit agitated that we're not playing with him enough.
Rudy may have to stay put, but for the other quarantine bears, things are about to get going. Martinico will be the first bear to be moved. He was rescued from a cage in a monastery where he'd been kept since he was a cub. He was brought to the sanctuary in a blaze of publicity. The Romanian media took up his cause. Now they want to find out what will happen to him, which is not such good news for Martinico. Every male bear in the sanctuary has to be castrated. During this operation, Martinico's condition became apparent. His paws were damaged, his teeth had been sawn off, and he was undernourished. After good winter feeding and partial hibernation, Martinico is ready to be released into the forest enclosures. But first, the team need to tempt him out of his familiar cage. For Victor, it's the start of something really exciting.
It is going to be, I think for a lot of people, a very emotional time to see the bears released and feeling the open space and climbing a tree for the first time will be fantastic, and I want to be there with my camera to record it.
Despite Victor's enthusiasm, Martinico does everything at his own pace, as usual. It takes a lot of persuasion and a fair bit of patience to get him to leave the safety of the quarantine cage. In the end, the lure of the bear-shaped cakes proves too much. It's Martinico's first steps towards the forest he's never known. The plan is to take Martinico down to the sanctuary clinic where new indoor dens have just been completed. The dens have access to the sanctuary outdoor training area where the bears will get used to the electric perimeter fences before being released into the new forest enclosure. Once inside the den, the team will give Martinico a chance to settle down before opening the door to the training area and letting him out to explore. While Martinico gets used to his new surroundings, work for the team continues.
Yeah, that's it.
Next on the list to be moved is Lydia. One of the sanctuary's oldest residents, Lydia, lives in a small temporary enclosure with Christy. They were the first two bears brought to the sanctuary after they were rescued from a cage at a restaurant. They had lived together in these run-down conditions for nearly 10 years. Christina travelled 30 kilometres to the restaurant every week for 7 years to make sure they were properly fed. Lydia is now going to be the first bear released into the newly completed second enclosure, with Christy hopefully following close behind. The team have been cutting down their extra food for a couple of days so the bears will be more easily tempted. But an empty tummy has made Lydia a very stroppy bear indeed. Paul and sanctuary manager Lotzi take the transport cage into the enclosure. Lotzi's wife Emmy keeps Lydia and Christy occupied away from the gate.
Lydia, Christy, neighbor cake.
Lotzi now has the chance to position the transport cage. They're hoping that Lydia can be tempted into the cage and then moved. With the trap set, Lotzi makes a swift exit. It doesn't take long for the bears to come and investigate. Both bears are intrigued by the cage, but after a long wait, it's clear that neither Lydia or Christy want to go in, even with the bear cakes inside. Paul and Christina decide that darting Lydia is the best solution. 10 minutes later, and she's starting to go under. But with Christy on full alert, the problem now will be to get Lotzi back into the enclosure to bring Lydia out. Spring has arrived at the bear sanctuary deep in the Romanian countryside. Out in the forest enclosures, the bears have come out of hibernation. For many of them, it's the first time they've been able to hibernate in the woods, and now they are awake, they are reveling in the freedom of their natural surroundings. For the bears, spring means a lot of excess energy and play fighting. These wrestling matches are fun, but they're also about testing out the hierarchy of this bear community. Usually, a big male bear is dominant, but feisty females can see off the more timid male bears. Whilst the bears aren't often hurt in these contests, they are tests of strength, and they will help decide the structure of bear society here throughout the summer. Over at the new main sanctuary building, Martinico is settling into his latest home. He's been moved into one of the new dens, which have access to the small training area. The team are hoping that he will soon pluck up the courage to leave the den and explore. Once Martinico is outside and used to the electric fences, they will open a connecting gate and let him out into the new large forest enclosure. But before any of that can happen, Martinico will have to step outside his comfort zone, and he's not a brave bear.
Because they spend so much time in very confined spaces in where they've been rescued from, they actually get quite agoraphobic. So the whole idea of being let out into blue skies, clear skies with no bars is something that comes as a bit of a shock to them. He needs to learn that he's a forest bear and not a captive bear.
Eventually, Martinico does make his first tentative move outside. CCTV cameras installed as part of the new security measures are able to monitor the big moment. But when Martinico touches the electric fence, he quickly learns the first lesson of his new life.
You'll get a zap. It won't hurt him or damage him, but it'll be just painful enough to jump back. And usually the bears take just a couple of touches and they then realise and they'll keep away from it. Once he's done that, he's ready to go into this big enclosure because he will then realise that when he comes up to a perimeter fence, keep away.
Next door, in the large enclosure, the bears start to pick up Martinico's unfamiliar scent and come to investigate.